So I'll do a brief introduction. Welcome everyone to the Q2 developer meetup. So this is the agenda for tonight. We'll have a brief introduction, and then I'm very happy to have Michael on board for a presentation about connected operations. So I'm very curious about that. We'll have a look at the UI builder afterwards and do some in-depth analysis of low-code development. Mohit will tell us something about that. And afterwards, we will have room for questions, discussions, and that sort of things. And we plan to end 8:30. So who are we and why do we meet? So this is the Amsterdam developer meetup. This is the second virtual meetup actually that we're doing. So last time we had another famous guest, Chuck Tomasi. And well, basically we are a group of enthusiasts, just like, well, anyone joining here, just trying to set up a meeting to get some people together from the Dutch Servicenow community, and well, most of all, have open dialogues, interactive discussions, and just network with everyone in the Netherlands working with Servicenow or who is interested in Servicenow. So as I said, afterwards we will have some room for discussions or questions. If you have any questions or, well, just would like to have a chat, contact either one of us. The core team consists of Arnoud, Jorn, Barlito, myself, and Mohit. And as said, for tonight, we have a special guest, Michael Richie, telling us something about the connected operations. So next, a bit of house rules. Well, I think by now everyone is probably used to these kind of rules. So if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone to minimize noise. You're free to switch on your camera, but well, they're off by default. If you have a question, you can post it through chat, and we will interrupt the presentation as soon as possible to discuss your question. The meeting is recorded, so we can share it afterwards. And well, if you're watching the press conference or doing anything else at this time, you can view it afterwards or send it to your colleagues, of course. And well, usually we would be having some pizzas on a night like this, but then again, they're not included in this virtual meetup. So, well, if you'd like to order them, do it now. You'll probably have them by the end of the meetup. So you can still enjoy the actual meetup feeling. One thing to note, since we're having a hands-on session as well, this is the time to fire up your personal developer instances, because for the UI builder part, we have prepared a small lab that you can do yourself to get a bit of a feeling with the UI builder. Well, that leads me to introduce Michael. Please, Michael, can you share your screen and, well, introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure I'm on mute. Okay, y'all, you can see my screen? Let's confirm that.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for having me. I'm Michael Richie. I'm actually based in North Carolina on the East Coast of the US. I've been with Servicenow for almost 10 years. I was one of the first solution consultants in the mid-Atlantic area, flying up and down the East Coast for the first several years. But back in May of last year, I moved over to our NowX, which is our internal name for our future products business unit, where various new capabilities are kind of tested, if you will. If they make traction, then they may, ultimately either be store releases, which connected operations is, or it may fall under, some kind of a one of our workflows. So some examples of that is, you may have heard about our procurement application that started out within NowX, as well as the process optimization and so forth. That's come out of NowX. Legal service delivery. We're working on various vertical solutions. And this connected operations piece is something new where we're trying to, basically operationalize the data coming in from various IoT sensors. So I want to go through, kind of just some introductions of, why we're going into this space, and then I'll go through a quick demonstration as well, and kind of go from there. So Safe Harbor, you've all seen it. We may be talking about, kind of future release stuff, which can certainly change. So don't make any buying decisions based upon this conversation. But the reason we've gotten into IoT, right, is we are known as the workflow platform, and many of our customers and there are various trends is that many customers are deploying IoT sensors because we realize we're trying to do more with less people. We want to be able to monitor things, and IoT is becoming big all across various industries. The unfortunate part is IoT is such a big word, right? It means a bunch of different meanings for different people. So, essentially we're, trying to kind of leverage into that, and just knowing that our customers are kind of doing that. And then, in many cases, Servicenow may be that situation of the workflow engine behind the scenes. But the interesting thing from McKinsey is they've done some research, and a lot of products, whether you are a gas station retailer, right, where you have automatic coffee machines, you may have ovens and all of that stuff. Many of these manufacturers are including or creating these smart devices, and oftentimes less than 1% of that data is actually leveraged, or a lot of times that may require subscriptions to leverage some of that data, where hey, if I want to see the health of that store, I've got to look at a whole bunch of different portals from different manufacturers depending upon who that is. So what we're trying to do is the challenge that that's bringing is, customers need to innovate, again, do less with more, more with less people. There's that disparate data, multiple dashboards, things don't communicate, because what if data from this system meshed up with that system would then tell me the health of a particular device? And then also the Internet of Silos is a big piece where, because of the different systems and operation teams, they don't really collaborate that big. And so that's what we're trying to address. And what we're doing is, we're wanting to listen in on some of those sensor updates, and especially for, you customers that are leveraging Servicenow for that backend workflow, that backend resolution process, as you detect anomalies coming in from these sensors. We're trying to connect the dots there. So we essentially want to listen to that data flow coming in from those sensors, evaluate rules against those sensors. And then, we're going to market from a customer workflow perspective with customer service case, as well as work orders. But, from a development side of things, App Engine, problem management, incident management, any of the product, as you'll see, can be leveraged in terms of that. And so what we've done is we've created this connected operations product, which is a bridge outside of our typical instance. And we're going to market specifically around, again, the customer workflows, field and customer service, just specifically because, in many cases, you need to dispatch someone out, or you need to roll a truck and create a work order to go mitigate that. But in some of our conversations, including with a power company within your region, right, is what if a firmware update needs to occur to resolve some kind of an issue? There's really nothing preventing us from launching into, say, a problem and a change process with that, or again, with App Engine. So that's kind of our go-to-market with this product being brand new, but again, we can certainly expand beyond that. And so what we've done is we've created this Servicenow Iot Bridge. Actually sits outside of the data center, and we did that on purpose. We did that because of if you consider, say, a temperature sensor or an RPM sensor on a turbine, or really anything, those updates can be quite verbose. And if you've sent in a whole bunch of integration API calls into the instance, it can certainly impact that user performance. Servicenow as a whole was really created for that end user experience. And even on the event management side, there are certain limits of the number of events that can be processed, right? And it's typically kind of a burst, not a sustained. So we're trying to address that issue. And so with our bridge component, again, it's outside of the data center. We're designing it to be able to scale. At this juncture, we're supporting 1,000 concurrent messages per second. In our June release, we will be 5,000, and towards the end of the year, we'll be close to 10,000 updates or sensor evaluations per second sustained. So, again, we're trying to have very large ingestion of data, and each one of those updates that come in, we will then undergo some kind of a rules evaluation. And then from there, if an anomaly is detected, then we will then engage in a triage and response process. And so it doesn't necessarily, from the source of data, the bridge accepts MQTT, which is a common protocol from the Internet of Things type scenarios. And then we also accept HTTP. So between those two protocols, data can be, the sensor updates can be forwarded to the bridge into our connected operations product. But many from those protocols, the various SCADA systems, ThingWorx, AWS Greengrass, et cetera, those technologies are already talking in those protocols. So it's just, we don't necessarily, especially on the SCADA side, we don't want to replace those systems because they exist for regulatory reasons and whatever else. We're just trying to, again, operationalize the updates from those devices. And so what we're trying to do is, it's really just the tip of the iceberg. We're providing capabilities, around the bridge, a digital twin view of, kind of the real-time health and safety and access of that particular device. Also included is a new incident called an operations incident, which can be leveraged for, some kind of an operations staff to be able to look at the updates coming in from, the rule anomaly, and then determine kind of what path to take forward within the instance itself. But from there, right, you can certainly interchange this customer workflow with any of the products within the platform. Again, out of the box, we've got some great synergy with field and customer service, but again, we can certainly create any other kind of record, as well as leverage, all of the great capabilities that we have at the platform. The CNDB, asset management, workflows, machine learning, all that kind of stuff can certainly be leveraged too. So before I get into the demo, I thought I'd talk about a few of our customers. These customers were actually part of so as part of the NowX process, we have some design partners to, again, kind of validate what we're doing. And so Dreamworld was one of those that was very early on. This product has actually been in development for about 2 years at this point. And we were working with them well before, COVID shut them down. But they were in a situation where, just like anywhere, right, there's certainly some regulations around cold storage, right? We don't want the refrigerator to exceed some kind of a temperature because that can then cause all kinds of health and safety problems, right? We don't want to have people getting sick, et cetera. And so there are regulations within Dreamworld in Australia to check these concession stand refrigerators on a regular interval for all of the various governance, risk, and compliance type audits. And the use case with them was kind of funny because they were actually hiring high school students as well as college students to go around with a clipboard and write down whatever temperature was there. And for those of you with kids, especially teenagers, I can't read my son's writing, and they were having all kinds of troubles with reading what those values were, or what if they gave up and decided just to write whatever temperature down and go into the arcade instead. So it became a big problem for them. And so one of our partners had a relationship with a sensor company, and what they did is they deployed these temperature sensors within each of the devices. It would then pass those values over to the bridge. And then if something exceeded, then an operations incident got created, and then we'd link into the GRC piece for all of the various audit and regulation purposes. But then again, unfortunately, COVID shut them down. They were already looking at other use cases around other regulatory pieces, like what if a staff member was in a certain area as the ride started? Maybe preventative maintenance measures. Has this roller coaster gone around in number of times? We now need to invoke some kind of a process to maybe change out some components, et cetera. So it's certainly one that's going to continue growing. And then you all probably not heard of Tapco. I never heard of them either, but have seen the devices here, at least in the United States. They're leveraged within most of North America. They essentially create traffic safety equipment. So think of crosswalk systems where you've got the blinky light saying, hey, it's safe to cross the street, as well as even wrong way alert systems where if you're pulling down the wrong way of a highway, it will let you know that you're going the wrong way. And then if you continue going, it'll then dispatch a local police officer or and so forth to let someone know that, hey, someone's going down the wrong way. And so they were in the business of actually creating this equipment and selling it to various departments of transportation here in the US and Canada. And they wanted to really change their business model. So they were already using our customer service to interact with their customers and work orders to dispatch and roll trucks to address it. But they were in a situation where they were on given intervals sending trucks out to look at the batteries and check them. And so they ended up creating kind of these smart components where they're reporting data in to the bridge. We're then able to analyze and create rules around that. Hey, is the the battery health of this particular battery that's supplying the power for that blinky light, is it only holding an 80% charge? Now it's only holding 50% charge, etc. So they're now in a situation where they're rolling trucks when they need to versus on regular intervals. And it's also allowed them to change their business model where instead of selling equipment to municipalities, they're actually selling that as a service. So they're quote unquote kind of leasing, if you will, to various departments of transportation, and it's allowed them to completely change their business model overall. But this is again a great example of where they are leveraging our customer workflow complete suite, again customer service management, as well as the work order management as well. So I thought I'd pause there for any questions you may have thus far. Make sense? Anything with that?
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Some great examples as well from those two companies.
Perfect. All right. So from getting into a quick demonstration, as mentioned, part of the product is this new operations incident capability. And so, of course, along with that, right, where we're going from a product perspective is having, a workspace. And so the operations incident is included. It's optional. We're not forcing you to use it. But again, in most of our talkings with customers, there's typically a group that is responsible for monitoring, the OT type devices that exist out there. And so this workspace is geared around those particular scenarios, and you've got various metrics of the various operations incidents around that. And then also leveraging our mapping capabilities as well, where you've got kind of a mapping of various equipment that may exist out there too. And so I'd done just picking on your area as an example, I had done a demo around turbines. Some of you may have seen the turbines that may have existed at past CreatorCon conferences and whatnot. That's kind of similar around that process. But the idea is traditionally in IoT apps, you are monitoring a whole bunch of dashboards. And again, you think of a retail store, what have you. You may have one for your smart paper towel machines, your smart faucets, your ovens, all of that stuff. There's a lot of swivel chairing between viewing a dashboard and then maybe creating a work order within the platform. What we're trying to do is get people out of dashboards and get them into situations like this where hey, you see you're leveraging SMS messages, leveraging push notifications on phones, leveraging email notifications, what have you. Let folks know that there are actually indeed a problem versus again having to be monitoring these various aspects. And you may have seen this pop-up that occurred. And so, viewing a dashboard, SMS message could have gone out, and here's a case where, hey, for a retail store here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area where I live, right, we're seeing a situation where that walk-in freezer is quite different from another one. There's a risk of actually having some kind of a spoilage against that. So the operator can actually click into that particular piece of affected equipment. And this here is the digital twin dashboard. And so the idea with this is it sits on top of, if I were to click into edit record, so you may be used to seeing the CI view of various records, right? You got the various attributes, model, product model, and all of that stuff. This dashboard actually sits on top of that and provides the real-time values from the kind of the controller, if you will, coming in from the sensors. And so the operator can kind of validate what's going on with it, acknowledge the fact that hey, there's an actual situation occurring. Maybe now I want to engage the customer service team. Having full capabilities of work notes. I mean, this is essentially an extension of task, like most other assignable work pieces within the platform. And then from there, he can engage and create, launch into some other process, whether that's, again, out of the box with our synergy with our CSM and FSM modules. You see the create proactive case, create work order. But again, these are just UI actions where we can certainly invoke other areas. Now, you may have wondered, how was all of this set up? So our differentiator from a product perspective is, Azure's getting into the rule space, AWS is getting into the rule space, customers may be creating their own. But traditionally, those are requiring different skill sets, different systems and whatnot that you have to maintain. So that IoT bridge is something that's kind of a black box to our customers. We as a company are managing that, but all of the device registration, the rule creation, all that stuff is done in the instance itself. And what we've done is created this rules editor that you then are leveraging within the product. It's designed, easy, for these things. When this happens, do this, to where we want kind of the non-administration folks, the people that have this knowledge in their heads, to be able to create and maintain these rules. So you can assign them against any type of. We're using the term asset, but in reality, it's a configuration item. Oftentimes, I'm sure you've seen that term is constantly being intertwined, but you can target specific types of assets, but you can also even filter them. So here are all the attributes of the CIs themselves. So maybe for a retail store within Charlotte, we want to invoke this set of rules. Maybe a retail store within Amsterdam follows these set of rules. You've got access to be able to filter based upon those attributes of those devices. You then have the ability to set conditions around the attributes that you've set up. So here are the various attributes that we saw in the digital twin dashboard of the data coming in from those sensors. And in our simple example here, when that walk-in freezer was greater than 20 degrees Fahrenheit, we've got a problem. And so at its simplest form, we're not, again, we're going to market with connected operations, but we're absolutely not tied to it, because what ServiceNow Connected Operations is doing is it's launching a flow. So what happens is these updates are going into the bridge. Rules are evaluated on each and every one of those updates. If an anomaly is detected, right, based upon these conditions, then what happens is the IoT bridge then instructs the instance to launch a flow. Then obviously, once you're in Flow Designer, assuming I would expect everyone on the call here has leveraged Flow Designer. Once you're within this, you've got full reign capabilities to really do whatever you want, right? Leverage Integration Hub. Maybe can I adjust the temperature if something is exceeding, through some kind of a control system. Maybe I want to validate some data externally. Maybe I want to not create an operations incident. I want to create a problem management problem instead, or a multitude or many types of different types of tasks, maybe in GRC or what have you. So you've got full reign ability to be able to do that. And of course, different data is also being passed into the flow from the bridge, so that you can then analyze that. What affected record is it? That attribute snapshot, right? If I go back to the operations incident, that's all of this data here, right? So you'd be able to parse the data, looking at certain situations, because maybe I want to skip an operations incident if the value is far exceeding some kind of a threshold, and I want to immediately roll a truck and create a work order, and so forth. So again, once you're within Flow Designer, you've got full capability of that. And then from a typical demo perspective, right, it can take all kinds of different approaches, because it depends really upon what your use case is and really what the resolution process is, right? So some situations you need to engage a customer, and customer service would be involved. Other times you roll a truck. Other times, what if I need to investigate some kind of a firmware patch and engage IT? So really it's usually a kind of understanding the use cases involved, where you want to operationalize the updates coming in from the sensors, and then kind of going from there. So I know I've been talking a lot. Any questions you have from the demo side, or setup, or anything around connected ops?
Yeah, there's a question from Dhruv, I see.
Someone in chat. Let me pull up chat real quick.
And the question is, so do we have any order type or logic as well for scenarios if we have overlapping rules?
If rules are overlapping, so once the overlapping bits and pieces can actually occur within the flow itself. At this current time, the deduplication of updates, right? You see this lookup of existing incidents and checking a count. The deduplication is actually being done in Flow Designer. So through Flow Designer, through the logic there, you can certainly build out those overlapping situations, and check to see if because the two pieces of information that are created as part of along with that is there is something called an event, and it's not event management. It's actually an IoT event. So you can create a different type of event along with the rule breach, as well as that flow. So between those bits of information, as well as details about the asset itself, you should be able to deal with situations of overlapping rules there.
Well, in answering that question, you also answered the second question already.
Yeah, so event management has been around for obviously many years. We've actually had a couple of customers that are using event management for IoT type use cases. But again, the challenges that we're trying to address with this new product is the fact that being able to handle those larger volumes of data from a sustained perspective, because event management, we don't want to impact the overall instance with it. We're creating, that bridge is completely separate. So there's certainly a lot of gray areas of when you should utilize connected operations versus event. And a lot of times it really depends on the type of device and communication protocol, right? So event management is historically IP-based, right? Discovery-esque type technologies. Point of sale is one of those gray areas, because oftentimes they're network devices. But when you're getting into, temperature sensors, contact sensors, maybe different sensors on manufacturing lines, that sort of stuff, that's where, those traditionally aren't undergoing the IT discovery route, and they're typically just firing off updates from values that change.
Okay. I have a question. I don't see it in chat, so I'll ask it just normally. Is it able to handle multiple sensors at the same time for one trigger rule, for example?
Multiple sensors. So
for example, you have a temperature sensor and a humidity sensor, and they both need to be within a certain range before a event goes off.
Got it. So two separate sensors coming in together to be able to evaluate a rule?
Yes.
At this juncture, we're expecting some kind of a controller to kind of push those in together. But addressing that scenario of multiple, querying multiple sensors and whatnot is absolutely something we're going to be accomplishing. I'd say right now, and it's important to note that connected operations, we're still in controlled go-to-market. We actually launched the product in October. It's via store release, quarterly basis, so it's not tied to our two named releases a year. Right now, we're focusing on throughput and additional capabilities around rules like time-based rules, gap detection, location-based rules are on our near-term roadmap to be able to address. We're just trying to get it to where, because some of the biggest inhibitor with some of our conversations has just been, we're, think of smart meters or whatnot, that, we're just not able to handle that volume of data. So we're trying to get to that first.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had a question as well. Where do you now connect it to, as you don't connect it to the instance? Is it some cloud provider, or does ServiceNow offer something dedicated for this?
We're actually leveraging a third party. Technically speaking, we're leveraging Azure as the hosting provider for the bridge. It's all of ServiceNow's IP. So we've actually tested launching this bridge in AWS. But because of our technology or technical relationship with Microsoft for a lot of things, we are currently deploying the bridge there. But from a customer perspective, there's no nothing that they have to maintain there other than knowing that it's actually an Azure endpoint that they're sending all of their sensor updates to. Because all of the rules and registration of devices and all that happens in the instance and then synchronizes.
Okay. Cool.
I got a question. I assume the answer will be no, but will this feature be enabled for PDIs for testing and let us developers play around with it?
I wish it's via store, so depending upon if it's a ServiceNow release or not, you may see it as a store or plugin in your instance. The technical part is the fact that we can't, the spinning up of the bridge is something separate. It undergoes through a change process. So at this point, we're not supporting PDIs yet. But if it's something that, especially if you are a partner of ServiceNow, et cetera, or even if you're a customer, right? I mean, reach out to your sales team, and myself and my team can be engaged, and we can, work through creating various scenarios and whatnot. From a partner side, we have an onboarding piece where partners can join our early adopter program, and we can actually spin up a bridge against one of your partner instances.
Okay.
Down the road, as we have more automation around bridge deployment and whatnot, we'll be able to support our the PDI concept. But right now, it's really a one-to-one mapping between instance and bridge, and it's just an administration burden to be able to create and sustain those for all of the PDIs that exist out there.
So if you say it's a one-to-one mapping between instance and bridge, does that also include that you don't support a production and development environment together?
Actually, in that case, depending upon the number of instances the customers have, there'll be a bridge for each and every one of those instances.
Okay.
So, Michael Mohit here. So the earlier diagram that you showed, the bridge that was a separate component, you mean that is hosted on the Azure platform, right? Which captures all the events and then,
Yeah, so this piece here, the device connection, ingestion process, the rules engine, all of that stuff is being hosted externally, correct?
Okay.
But all of the rule creation, the device registration is done in the instance, and then it gets synchronized back up with the bridge itself. So the only people that are doing anything up within the bridge side of things is our engineering group.
Yeah. So it does have a.
We got another question from chat. Can a customer choose for an EU Azure data center, or is that fully managed by ServiceNow and not visible for customers?
We've got the ability to deploy bridges in the various Azure data centers, so it doesn't have to be, say, the United States Azure as an example, pointing to an EU-based bridge or East-based instance. So we can deploy these bridges in the various regionalized Azure data centers.
But can a customer request for it, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the contract stuff, right? I mean, as you become a customer, I mean, we'll be able to choose which region to deploy the bridge. Because I mean, obviously, we want to have, don't want network latency and so forth to be involved. Yeah. So we want it as close as to the instances as possible.
Correct.
But also legal rules, because European Azure data centers have another legal requirement than Americans.
Right.
Assuming GDPR and other lands of the law.
For example, yes.
Sorry, laws of the land. Sorry. Yeah, I think that's generally also one of the questions that potential customer who's coming up and adopting ServiceNow platform, especially in the EU region, they do ask where the instances are hosted, and to be compliant to GDPR. I think hosting of the bridge surely would be one of the points to be discussed in the contract duration. Great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And one question is additionally from my side. You mentioned that this is going to be a store release. So I'm assuming that more compatibility, more and more platform, which can obviously push data back into the bridge, will be also released as we are getting for integration hubs, more and more spokes, etc. Is that the same plan for connected operations as well?
We went with store just because there's nothing on the major releases that we're really tied to, except maybe UI functionality. But that being said, there is some level of certification with each release. So we're on a quarterly release cycle, February, June, September or October timeframe, etc. So right now we're a release behind, just given our time frame. So right now we support Paris and Orlando. Our June release will bring in Quebec as an example, just because we didn't get the timelines don't align to go through all the level of certification that we need to from a store side of things. But as we go GA, we will be kept up with those various releases. And we purposely did it in store just because, again, there's nothing that we depend upon in the major release. Plus, we wanted to be able to iterate quarterly versus twice a year.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe a question that's not directly connected to connected operations. I've heard in your presentation that you at least mentioned one Dutch city, Amsterdam. Which other cities do you know? Based from Americas. So.
Well, I mean, we're actually been in conversations with the power company there. So, talking smart meters, turbines, all of that kind of stuff. So I've been working with the local account teams within the Netherlands, overall. Also Platformation as a partner, because they've pulled us into this opportunity. So, well over there's been actually a lot of activity overall within the EU, as well as the UK, from smart metering to water pump scenarios to train station monitoring of escalators, elevators, manufacturing, all of that kind of stuff. Even building HVAC stuff, even down within Italy. So I'd say overall that it seems as if the EU is much more far along with IoT, I'd say, than many of the customers I've talked with in the US. And so, I mean, there's been quite a lot of I've been up early. I'm actually based on the East Coast, so I've been up early quite a bit, speaking with various customers over in your region.
Well, I hate to stand up early, so rather you to me. But
well, if there aren't any more questions, we would have to move on to the next presentation. Well, at least from my side, thank you very much, Michael, for this presentation.
Yeah,
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see the connected operations. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So feel free to stick around, or well, hopefully we'll see you again, or even shake hands in real life if it comes to a physical meeting at one day.
I hope so. I'm tired of my home office.
Well, thanks a lot for your contribution, and we'll move on with the UI builder. Paulita is going to tell us some more about that.
Yeah, trying to hide the screen. Yeah, we'll put it here. Yeah, thank you, Michael, for a very interesting topic. And yeah, you spoke about bridges, and I think there is a bridge to this presentation, because when I looked at the dashboard of yours, I saw actually a workspace, and that's what this topic also is about. I'm going to tell a little bit about the UI builder in the Quebec release. And as already Jeroen said in the beginning, fire up your personal development instance, because we're going to do a little lab in a few moments. Jorn made the lab for us, and yeah, we would say look already at your instance, because we know that lately there are a lot of issues with the personal development instances, so it doesn't always start up right away. So I would give the hint to start it already. The UI builder, what is it? I think that many people perhaps would say, yeah, the UI builder was already here. So what's the story with Quebec? First of all, Servicenow, the definition of the UI builder is that it offers a way for customers to create and customize workspaces and portal pages with a single builder to deliver engaging and personalized experiences on the Now platform. And that fits the description very well. It is actually for workspaces and portal pages. Previously, before Quebec, there was already a UI builder, but it was specifically for the workspace experience. So think about Agent Workspace, for instance, and in the new release, in the Quebec release, they made it more specific and enlarged it, so to speak, and it is now available for workspaces and what we can call portal pages. So if in the past you had done some work with already the UI builder for workspaces, then in this new release, you should go via the navigator to workspace experience and proceed there. And if you start the new one or a portal page, then you can use the new UI builder and you can find it in the Now Experience framework. And that's what this picture is showing. So in the navigator, from now on in Quebec, you would go to the Now Experience framework and you see the UI builder over there. As you can see, it is made of experiences and a help screen. There's a lot of help here. It's really documented in a nice way. It's quite a large, in its entirety, it's quite large. So yes, there is documentation and good examples, but you will see that there are so many possibilities. Okay, how does it work? The first steps, so to speak. If you use the UI builder and you want to make a workspace or a portal page, the first thing you will do is create an experience, and an experience is a workspace or a portal experience page, how they call it, with a single title, an app shell, a base URL path, just as you would do in a portal, and an application scope. And all the underlying pages within it is in one experience. The app shell that you use in the experience, that's a sort of wrapper. And it defines the kind of experience that you are building. In the Quebec release, that is, we have by default two of these app shells, one for the workspace, one for a portal page, and that's the starting point to make a new page or landing page or whatever you want to build. And in that page, you can drag and drop a lot of components. Now, these components, you can drag them in, but first you will want to have a layout on the page. So you have different options to choose from how the layout will be. It's very easy. It's all clickable, drag and drop. If you selected the layout of the page, you can select the components that you want on the page, and that differs really from simple things like buttons to entire lists, forms, chat screens, whatever. You can really, you think of it and it's already there out of the box. It has really a lot of options. It's really great. Even model overlays, alerts, those kind of things, it's all built in. And of course, you can do some styling still with scripting by yourself. So that's all been taken care of. except the fact that you can add components out of the box. What we as developers, of course, always want is that we can make our own components. And yes, we can do that. But for this moment, it would take too much time to go in there, because for the custom components, you need installation of Node.js, a specific version of it. And you have to add some CLI tooling, some command line tooling to deploy things, and the installation of that itself can take up for 40 minutes, I guess I read. So that would take a little too much time for here, but know that you can do that. So that's a nice addition. And as you can expect, you can bind all kind of data and map it together and work with really a lot of events like page loaded and all kind of things that you can imagine that you can do. It's all there out of the box. And actually what we wanted to do is, normally if we would see you all face to face, then we would say, okay, we do a lab, and most of the times it was a lab of, let's say, half an hour. Now we have chosen, because we are online, to only give you a short idea of it. So our question to you actually is, open up your own instance and use these URLs to take a look at the lab. The idea is that you can look at it for, let's say, 10 minutes. Because we think that in 10 minutes you can get a really good idea what is possible with the UI builder, to see how easy it is, how many options there are, and you are already created in, well, I hope also 10 minutes, something to show you afterwards that what you can do within the time. And he already had some ideas about it, in respect to using the portal, for instance. And yeah, we hope that we can give you a good idea if you can look at it for yourself. So I would say start it up and look at it.
Yeah, I can say I made the lab in 10-ish minutes.
10-ish? Wow.
Yeah, around 10 minutes or more, or
yeah. We included 2 URLs, so if you can...
Yeah, I've just shared them in the chat as well.
Yeah, all right. And Jorn, perhaps you can take over the screen already for the demo in 10 minutes.
Now let this be on the screen, and I will take it in a bit.
Yeah. I will leave you here a little in silence so that you can have a look.
Yep, so we'll have the low-code development part starts at 8 then, so we're a little bit behind schedule, but let's see what people can do in a very short time with the UI builder.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Seven, 8, 9 features I can control with just options. If I want to do anything else, I need to clone the widget, make something custom, and go from there. If I now look in the new apps, in the new UI builder, and I only look at this component, I can already see I got heaps and heaps of options I can configure. And I can configure them with script parts. I can configure them with dynamic data bindings. I got so much options which are out of the box. I don't have to modify this component. it gives me so much more power. It gives me well, I know I've built I call it my build a custom page for customer, cloning all widgets, needing to modify all widgets because of customer needs. With UI Builder, we could have done everything within customization options. That's what I like. At the same time, it's so overwhelming because you need to configure everything from even from, well, action, what it does when you click a row. But you get the options to do so. In the lab, we say we do a redirect to another page, but we can also do a model that shows up. We can make it actually go back to any other page that's even not related to this. We got so much power within just configuration. And that at the same time is scaring me because, well, I need to relearn everything I knew about ServiceNow when using this, especially about portal building. So that's something one of my important things I took from this. And what we done here, it's so easy because we just shown a list of records. We just show a redirect to the form widget, the form of it, but we can do so much more. Place buttons, add actions to those buttons. It's insane. One of the important features I want to add to it for the people who don't have, on the now developer of the ServiceNow developer side, there's just a overview of all the components that are free to use, that are available, with a full description on how they work, what they work, how they do. For example, this one, it says how you need to install it if you want to install it for a customization. If you want to use it with just the one as it is, full information. Still, even not for all components, but some components even have a playground already on the developer side, so you don't have to build a page yourself and see what it does, how it responds. Because here I can already change things. For example, if I say, well, no, I don't want to see it as a primary button, but as a secondary button, you can already see how it's behaving without needing to build it. So this was amazing to me as well, how much information ServiceNow already puts out for it and lives for it. That was my experience. It's just overwhelming on information, overwhelming on options, and I'm just sad that I only can do the few things that I did with it within the lab, because there was so much more I wanted to do. I wanted to add buttons. I wanted to play around with different scripts, because you can even do some scripting in it. There was just so much.
You actually now only use the drag and drop options and the configurations. So imagine what you can do if you put some scripting in action.
Not even that. Even
we have a few questions.
The options, we just touch a top part of the options. We didn't do even a deep dive. So that was amazing for me.
We have a few questions. I'm not sure if Jorn or maybe anyone else can answer them. The first question by René: is it easy to integrate in a conventional portal? What do you think, Jorn, or maybe anyone else?
I don't know that. I've never tried it, but I know that the same question came up in a happy coding hour of Chuck Tomasky. So I would advise to watch those about UI building. And the answer is actually no. They're currently totally separate. They're not integrated. Okay.
And another question from Ravi is, if someone who don't have much experience when it comes to Service Portal, what prerequisites are required to work with the UI Builder?
And then I'm going to reference the same the same happy coding hours, what they've done. The idea from using the UI builder is making the threshold of working with it lower. So from the current portal, service portal, you actually need to know coding. You need to know how Angular works. You need to know in large part how HTML works, how CSS works. It's not knowledge step is put much lower. What they do need is just a basic training in the UI builder, in the options, in knowing what they're looking at. For an experienced portal builder, they know how they know what they're looking at. They know how a body of a page has been set up with different containers and stuff. Somebody who doesn't know that needs to learn that.
I think in general that yeah.
Well, as you said, Jorn, I think the well, at least the second link that we shared is a good place to start if you're not familiar with UI Builder at all. So we will have a quick start from Servicenow itself. And as you said, Chuck Tomassia has some interesting information on it as well. So that would be a good place to start, probably.
I believe Servicenow provides training on it as well. It's I believe the UI builder is within the application developer stream at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you Google UI builder, you find a lot of tools and things. Yeah.
Yeah, but just Googling it's overwhelming, the information out there. That's on one side it's good that there's so much information, but on the other side it's for people who start, it's too much.
Yeah, even for us it is quite too much. It is very overwhelming. It comes out of nothing and it is really a lot. Yeah.
Considering the time, I think it's time to move on to Mohit for some low-code development.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually, just to introduce you, I think this is a good place from where we started with the current service portal, where you need full code, to the UI builder, where it's at least low code, becoming low code for a person to use it.
Yeah.
So with that bridge, continuing on the bridging subject.
Thank you. Thanks for that segue, Jon. And thank you for this. I think really interesting look into UI builder. And you very truly said that if you're just using out of the box, we are having so many options. Imagine the power this brings if we bring the pro coders here and they can do magic with it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But before I jump into my section, any questions, anything? I hope everybody is enjoying the lab. But what we also want to see is we also want to leave some time in the end just to have an open conversation with everybody who has joined and talk about any of the topics that we have discussed today. Any questions, guys? Okay, not a problem. You can please ask me to stop and we'll be happy to answer any questions, any queries you have. But I'll just jump into my section and share my screen to take you guys through the topic that I have prepared for you guys is the low-code development movement that is going on in Servicenow today. Yeah. Jeroen, Jon, can you confirm if the screen is visible?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Okay. So low-code development, and I think if there is a theme that we can tag to today's meetup, and when we were discussing about the topics as well, was what are the things that is going really hot topic across the community, across the platform, especially about Quebec being the latest release. Connected operations, as you saw from Michael, as well as UI Builder covered by Jon and Jeroen and Barolito as well. And now the summing up would be the movement, as I said, is across enabling the developers, the business analyst, I would say consultant sections of the communities as well to use the power of the platform. Yeah. And I think from the last couple of years, you can see that the platform is becoming more and more, say, capable of assisting people like who are who possibly might not also have background experience within IT, but they do understand the power of ServiceNow, the workflows that it is able to create, as well as a moment which is really pushed to a next level with the Quebec release is of the term known as citizen developer. Yeah, I'm sure many of you might have heard about this quotation that a group of citizen developers are also requesting or also looking forward to platforms, not only as ServiceNow, but also as Appian, Microsoft, Salesforce, to enable them to create and contributes towards the digitalization of their organization processes as well, right? So today our focus purely would be on ServiceNow capabilities into this, and I have taken the leverage of capturing one of the quadrants from the Gartner's 2020 reports, as well as a distribution of how they define what a citizen developer is and how and what can be differentiated, say at a high level, being sent across what a pro developer is. Yeah. So generally, the community is increasing not only for developers, but people who are process oriented, are process leads. Again, coming back to business analysts, they play a critical and pivotal role into ensuring that the workflows that are created or the business processes which are being converted from, let's say, Excel sheets, offline approvals, even signatures taken across, and that can be converted into ServiceNow, are getting more and more tools from ServiceNow as per release. And one of the key offerings that has come across from the Quebec release is the App Engine Studio, which I'll just take you in the next slides. But it differentiates and has put ServiceNow in the leaders quadrants from 2019 to 2020. And the machine learning AI capabilities of predictive intelligence, process automation designer, etc. The capabilities are coming together slowly. And if you see the platform from a 30,000 birds view kind of a perspective, you will see that various components that ServiceNow has shown us from the last year or so, a little above year or so, specifically after New York, they are trying to come through, and more out of the box capabilities are enabling people, not depending on the development team, not depending on the pro coders per se, to ensure that their processes are digitalized and taken through into mass adoption within the organization. Yeah. One of the key things that, as I mentioned, in the Quebec has come across is the App Engine Studio. I'm not sure, but on the other side, I definitely know the audience that joins our meetup is from the developer community, and you guys would have explored and got your hands dirty in the guided app creator or mobile studios when you would have done development or come across challenges or projects in your organization when you have used these functionalities. And in Quebec, it's basically coming across into one screen, one beautiful screen, if I may put it like that. And personally, you'll see it also contributes towards saving a lot of time for a developer when they want to create a scoped application or just take an application when you have defined the flows of it offline and you want to utilize the components like flow designer, process automation designer, or a playbook experience, or even UI builder, which we were covering in the last section, in just one screen. And all of these are at your perusal to convert your process or your scoped application and then just push it across to your platform. Yeah. So App Engine Studio is what we'll look into in the next 10 minutes, 12 minutes into depth. I would also like to show you a quick demo for it as well. within App Engine Studio, we have some out-of-the-box templates. These are pre-built workflows. Generally, I'm sure people would be more and more accustomed to offerings coming across from ServiceNow in which out-of-the-box capabilities are being pushed across as a great starting point, but the platform is still open for development and pushing across your apps as well. So if I just have to draw a parallel to Integration Hub, and if you look into App Engine Studio, two very different offerings, but Integration Hub comes with a lot of out-of-the-box spokes, and App Engine is today, as we are speaking, is a paid app. I think Dhruv this asked this question, but it is available in our PDIs to explore. Comes with a set of templates which guides you, which gives you screens, experiences, automation, custom roles, even table schemas already, and it's a great starting point if somebody wants to start an app or create an app which has a catalog item from the portal, and somebody can say use that as a record producer to submit a request for the app, right? These are some of the ones which are available out of the box. If some might have some questions, can I create my own template right now? Currently not, but that is a part of the roadmap that is coming in the Rome release, as well as in the next couple of releases. And again, to pointing towards App Engine is a paid app in the production environment. It's very simple licensing, same as what is continued for your ITSM or CSM fulfillers, then business stakeholders or an unrestricted user model. But it's best to talk to the account executives of your organization or your project to give you the exact details of the licensing that you have, right? And App Engine is also falling under a conversation point, if I may just put it like that. ServiceNow is also segregating their modules, or they're putting their product into different horizontal lines and vertical lines as well, if you mark it like that. So there are, before Quebec, there were three major workflows that were cutting across the platform, like the IT workflows, the employee workflows, as well as the third workflow. So I forgot about it. And the now is the creative workflow as well. As a part of the creative workflow is App Engine Studio, as well as bringing of the things like the Flow Designer and the UI Builder I just mentioned. Yeah. A quick preview of the capabilities that App Engine Studio gives before we jump into the demo is that it takes your app through various guided instructions that helps and prompts the user or the, in this context, a citizen developer or a developer or a pro developer, of how to create this app step by step. They take you from creation of a table schema that you can actually take it from an Excel sheet, spreadsheet. If you have an offline Excel sheet that you want to transform using the process to be through the platform, you can upload that. It will automatically retrieve your data. You can put in rules of excluding the data from the number of rows, etc. Types of fields that you have already done in, I think, the Dev Studio. Similar, same experience is also carried forwarded into App Engine Studio. You also have the power of initiating and creating your flows directly from Flow Designer within the same UI of App Engine. You also can say take out and fire up your spokes of Integration Hub to integrate with external system, or just say initiate your workflows or automation from process automation designer or your playbook experience as well. And as we have just seen in an exciting lab from the experience of Now Experience, you can create your workspaces, you can initiate your portal design or even your experience design from the UI builder interface within App Engine Studio. And it's a part of the platform, as we have already spoken. And just in one screen, multiple tabs, every capable tool that is available or an offering that is available from the platform is there within App Engine Studio. And it's an exciting say way, or if I may just put it, it's a single screen that a pro code or a citizen developer needs to basically convert and start their app, or design an app and basically create a scoped application as well, right? So it's an exciting way of how ServiceNow has packaged this. I do envision that this is going to go a long way ahead. And connected operations, the topic that I was just going through along with what Michael gave us a great demo, was that it might also look into and connect with such offerings from the from Now platform, and people can leverage that in the future as well. That I want to create a scope app that actually gets in data from the IoT devices which are feeding my bridge, and then I can utilize this data not only to create operation tickets or create an FSM, say ticket or a CSM case, but I also want to ingest that data to do some analytics on top of it, or gather some health data looking into the COVID situations that is happening, and the cases are umpteen. Yeah. So I'll just take a pause. I'm sure I've spoken a mouthful. People would have definitely got across through App Engine Studio, not a new topic, and the podcasts like Tech Now and Andrew Barnes and other folks that are constantly contributing towards such topics have done great webinars. I would definitely encourage you to go ahead and look into that. But any questions, any queries that you have right now, I'll be happy to answer, and then we can just spend a few minutes into the demo as well. Yeah. Any questions into the chat as well, guys?
No questions in the chat.
Okay. All right.
I have one
Okay,
question.
not a problem. So looking into the
There's
time as
a
well,
question.
I will. Okay. All right.
Am I audible?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, this is Ravi. I mean, I'm from Stockholm. So my
Hey,
question,
Ravi.
yeah, my question is related to the city and developer, which I find sometimes little bit confusing, at least for me. It's like how we should ask our customer actually to start with the city and developer, because as of now, I didn't find any guide which they can follow, like what they can do, which is easier for them. And if they get stuck, then we can help them rather than sitting with them and then explaining them what is citizenship development and how they should do this.
I think that's a very interesting question, and I'll give you my take onto it. But there might be different interpretations, and other experts might also tell you their view. But I'll try to answer that with an example that I actually came across in one of the projects, right? So there are various roles within an organization in which people are known as service managers, right? I'm sure you might have also came across this kind of a terminology, but they are owners, or they are responsible for offering a lot of services or parts of services back to the community of the organization, IT users, non-IT users, end users, whoever it is, right? They do generally sometimes have such demands that even if I have to roll out a new catalog item, let's in this example, it was like that I have to offer a new service as a part of my data center services. I need to introduce a new catalog item, right? However, I still depend on the ServiceNow development team or admin team to put that request of a new catalog item to be put in across, and they will take it as a part of their product backlog. They will then prioritize it, take it as a part of sprint. I'm just talking about general development cycle, which happens in, I think, almost every organization that follows Agile, right? And this is generally a long cycle of 2 to 4 weeks that takes from a defined service which has to launch, and that being accessible within ServiceNow platform for people to consume, right? They are an ideal role for people who can be using and can be tagged as citizen developers, right? So giving this power back to service managers who can actually go into their own scoped application or a business process, define a new catalog items using the power of App Engine Studio, UI Builder, etc., and then submit this their own visualization of the design, what fields they want to capture into a catalog item, what information they're expecting from an end user to use this new service, and submit it for approval back to your development team, right? So in App Engine Studio, there is a step when you develop an app. It's known as security, in which it is like that citizen developers are not directly developing and pushing your updates into production just without having any governance, right? That defeats the point. But what App Engine Studio is giving them capabilities, you develop it. In that sense, you configure it, and you create your own visualization of what you want to develop into the platform, then submit it for governance approval, either to your admin, to your development team or your sprint team, basically your ServiceNow support group. If they approve it based on the quality, if you have done some scripting, etc., they can then take it to your production line, and then they can approve it to be, say, taken into your production instance, right? So it still has that governance layer, but this is an example that I came across. We had this conversation with the organization that these are the right people who can be enabled through the platform to say get their hands and understand the capability of the platform, rather than purely depending on an admin or a developer to come into a call with you or a meeting and explain you, I can create this drop down or I can do that as a new widget. You can do it yourself in the platform as well. Yeah. But does that help you to understand that these kind of conversations are happening, and these are ideally citizen developer as per the definition, but it's a very gray area, it's a very open area for interpretation, how you tag it or you don't tag it. But it's a very it's a niche. I don't want to call it a niche area. It's a new area that is exploding, not only in the platform of say, let's say ServiceNow, but across the industry when you read more and more about it. Yeah. But how did this example make some sense of, or you can also draw a parallel of any experience that you had, Ravi?
Yeah, sure. I mean, uh, I can correlate what you are trying to, I mean, explain
Mm,
here.
mm,
Uh, but probably I need to find such people who are actually interested to get their hands dirty when it comes to
yeah,
development.
yeah,
Sometimes they actually push things to you. I mean, you can do it anyway. It will take less time, because we
correct.
also know. I mean, if you will try to explain them, even to I mean, configure the catalog item as well, so they need some
Mm,
assistant. But I mean, as you said, they will feel like included while
correct.
working on the, even though it's a
Yeah,
small thing, but when they will feel what they are doing. And anyway, whenever in the normal life as well, when you build something, you feel good.
yeah,
So that
yeah.
is also good.
And that's the pure layman, I think, definition of what I have taken as an example. But there are various multiple roles into when a organization goes under agile transformation, that comes across demand managers is definitely another role from process oriented perspective, and that can definitely use this as an offering, Ravi, or at least explore it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, have you came across any guidelines or any, I mean, any guide which they can prefer?
Not specifically as a say, I would say best practices, etc. But from ServiceNow perspective, it's an offering that is up for you to explore. To say, it's a defined way of how you can start building your own business process apps into platform, or any process that has to go into adoption on ServiceNow platform, which is currently not in apps in ServiceNow, but you can use the power of integration hub, flow designer, etc. Right? Guidelines is the system itself has its own way of how a defined process will go through. Some are optional, some are not. It has its own boundaries of what you can customize and what you cannot. uh, kind of it comes out as best practices, but it will develop over time, Ravi, in my opinion. But if I find something like a good best practice guide or a data sheet that can say that this is what you should do, I can definitely share you offline, or we can post it in our Meetup site as well. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I will not take much time anyway. We are
Yeah, yeah.
already past 8:30. Yeah. Thank you.
Not
Thank
a
you for the
problem.
answer. Yeah.
Not a problem. Yeah. Thank you. So I think with just going overboard our time, I'll take another 60 seconds to show how App Engine Studio looks like. And this is the landing page of App Engine Studio, in which the templates that I was talking about are listed
You're
there.
not sharing you're not sharing your
Oh,
browser right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. Let me share my screen. Yeah.
I was already thinking it looks pretty much like PowerPoint.
Okay. Can you see now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, this is the landing page of App Engine Studio. It's a much more beautified version of I did say the Dev Studio that we had earlier before to Quebec, but it follows more or less the same principles. and there are various tabs in which you can go across, and the same templates that you're viewing in the bottom half are also accessible from here. There are various resources. Ravi, you can also refer to this as well. How and what are the, say, these are links to your doc sites. You can also try to explore if there are some best practices listed here or guidelines listed here as well. But these are more or less ways of how to use it and more detailed documentation, as I said, about it as well. Yeah, but just try to explore this area as well. So similarly, what you follow is to create your own app or a scoped app application. When you start building your app, it gives you an option whether it will be a scoped app or a global app. And you can choose either to start building your app, right? So quickly summarizing of, I originally wanted to take you through a quick app that I'd created, but I can just put you across of the apps that we can just see. So I was just creating this to-do app that we would have taken as an example, but the various things that an app would capture from mobile, say App Engine Studio, would be the data, which is the underlying table structure. You can also integrate it with third-party databases through your integration hub, and it can ingest data as well. Experience is the tab that will open up and you can create your mobile experiences or your now experiences. Directly when you click into this area, it will open the UI builder interface that we were just exploring, and there's no need for you to go back into the platform to open UI builder and connect it with your app. In the same tabs, you can just go ahead and do UI builder experience as well. For automation, it will take you to integration hub, flow designer, right in that same tabs, and keep on adding, and you can integrate it with your app and build it across. And for security, as I was mentioning, is the governance layer on top of it. What roles, if you want to create custom roles accessing your app, or your inbuilt roles should have an access directly into it. You can just use that and then define your app as well. It takes you to multiple various step-by-step guidances. For example, let me just open this up as mobile. Oh, sorry, just let me take it as UI builder, and it basically brings you back to the landing page and the instructions that Jan has given in his lab. We can also try to follow the same as here as well. And it will give you a pop-up message of saying that this is how you can, these are some of the various ways that you can customize the look and feel of your app or your landing page on a portal, and then just add it to your app as well, right? So it's a very quick and quick kind of a preview of App Engine Studio. I'm looking at the time. I still want to interact with you guys, but it's a very interesting topic. Happy to answer. Happy to share more information offline through LinkedIn or through Meetup. And I will just now basically like to open it back to the group and to the audience. And this is about my time in this section. Hope you liked it. Any questions, any queries, I'll be happy to answer. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, so I'll stop sharing my screen. Yeah,
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that would be the end of the presentations then. Well, we're a bit behind schedule, but then again, nothing too bad, I would say.
Yeah, I do see people joining from India. So it's midnight here. So it's great if they're still, so along with me, they're still hanging on to the meeting. So guys, do
That's very
definitely.
Nice
So absolutely, any questions, any say any topic that you think you like to discuss, we are happy to answer. Any feedback that you have on a particular topic, any say section of the discussions that we have.
Yeah, I mean, regarding this app engine, I mean, how, if you want to compare with the Servicenow Studio, how it is different.
Yeah. Sorry, Ravi, is that you again?
Yeah, this is Ravi.
Okay. So, okay, so, you can take it as a, as I said, so Studio, Mobile Studio is still, if you click into the mobile preview section of the experience in App Engine Studio, it takes you back to the Mobile Studio which is available from New York release. Same for the guided app creator or a dev studio that is already there from New York till Quebec. It also, so App Engine Studio, you can consider as a one step ahead in the direction of streamlining the way how a citizen developer or a pro code developer or basically any say role that is there, say working on the platform, can take the way of how to develop a business process or a scoped app within the platform, right? So guided app also takes you through multiple steps, but it actually gives you a lot of option of say if you remember table schemas listed, mobile studios listed in the left side. It's a much more refined view of how App Engine Studio is taking you through. Plus, it gives you all the views into one screen. That's, I think, one of the biggest benefits of App Engine Studio, because the Dev Studio takes multiple tabs in your browser and also directs you back into different modules. But this is a much more streamlined way. And this is also an App Store app, by the way, right? So today we have it in our PDS for exploring. It's not tagged to our main releases of the year. It's launched as an app store. It will keep on adding more and more functionality, more and more new templates that you will see, which is possibly not available in the guided app studio or studio, but App Engine, it's more in that direction as well. So it's a different
Good.
offering coming across. It's Arnaud, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's about sums it up. It's really the next step, the evolution in a streamlined and one place to manage it all and ready for the citizen developer experience and so on.
Yes, for example, it has its own release to production schedule you can put into it. It's flow, so you don't have to do it manually through. So it has also much more power with it. And personally, I'm still wanting to see what it can do, what's all in it, because I've explored a bit of it, but feeling I'm just touching the top of the iceberg, just like with the UI builder. It has so much potential. It is, for me, it's a great step forward.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
I mean, have you guys worked on any UI for GRC? I mean, since GRC is an independent application, and if you want to open the GRC to the end user with a clean UI, I mean, have you guys implemented something?
You mean from Servicenow or
Yeah.
The entire platform will move into this new UI builder style, but the exact timelines of the products, I'm not aware of that. So it will be in the next couple of release, but any timeline, I don't know about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but as Jorn already stated.
Sorry.
As Jorn already stated in his part about the UI builder, we'll probably see a lot more in coming meetups and in the coming releases, of course, regarding the UI builder and probably low-code development as well. So I would say topic that we'll see in the next meetup and probably the meetups after that as well. So.
And to just mention it across as well, Ravi. So if you just Google low-code development as a new say initiative across various organizations, you will see a lot of different platforms are taking more and more capabilities and more and more offerings around that. So the need for say transformation of converting offline processes into tool base, because people are moving mostly, let's say, looking at current pandemic situation, people are working remotely more and more, right? So physical meetup, handing over of paper, say all those book related or offline related processes have to be moving into say online as soon as possible. So it's a big market. It's in trillions, as I was reading into Gartner reports. So but the development efforts of the people who are qualified enough to build such processes, let's say developers or administrator, is not available as per the demand what is there, right? So citizen developers is definitely one. Yeah,
really exciting things ahead in that
exactly.
space, I would summarize.
Exactly. So citizen developer is definitely that source of innovation, that source of manpower that is going to be there to utilize this platform. And you will see, so the case study or the paragraph that mentioned was an organization just took 72 hours to create that COVID-19 app and then roll it out into production, right? So you either need next level of pro coders or a combination of pro coders and the process analyst or a BA analyst when they work together, because they know the process.
I think the point is yeah, I think we get the point across, and we're really excited on the things that are coming.
Yeah.
So is there a last question?
No, thank you. I'm done. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your answers. Yeah.
No problem, Ravi. Thank you.
Well, thanks everyone for joining then. I think it was a great session, and well, as we said, a lot of exciting things to come. So I hope you'll join us next time. We'll keep you posted through the Meetup site on the next Meetup.
Yeah.
So thank you for now, and enjoy your evenings.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Enjoy your evening.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks.
everybody.